Hello, everybody. Andrew Blake from the digitalaudiomanual.com. Today, let's talk about step input workflow in Cubase. So we have an option in Cubase that allows us to do what's called step input. What is that exactly? When you play the notes in real time, that's kind of like a performance input. But then there's times where you want to use this option that's called step input. And you don't have to have the project playing in tempo. You can just input the notes, and then Cubase puts them in the project correctly. Let's look at a quick example. If I make a MIDI part, open it up in this key editor. Right now, there's no notes. There's a button on the toolbar, kind of looks like little steps. When I press that, a blue cursor line appears. If I go up and set some kind of quantized value, in this case, I'll make it an eighth triplet. From that point, if I press on my MIDI keyboard, Cubase begins writing the notes right into the project. I can continue on, and it's writing in these 1/8 triplets. I'm going to finish out these 4 bars. Every time I play some notes, this blue cursor continues to move forward. And once it finishes, it goes back to the beginning. If I come up and turn off the step input, I can now play the project, and those notes are now included. Many times step input is thought of as kind of a workaround when you can't play an instrument. But I can tell you, even if you play an instrument, and even if you're very proficient, there are times where you're going to want to use this step input feature because it allows you to do things normal performance can be very difficult to achieve. So let's look at how we can use this, how it operates, and some of the things that go into it. All right, so what happens when you enter the step mode? If I come back up, click the button again, the first thing to observe is that we have 2 different cursors now. We have the playback cursor, which is this white line, and we have this blue cursor, which is the step input cursor. If you click somewhere up on the timeline, they tend to move together. So you could move things that way, but they also move independently. If you come down onto the grid and click in the grid, you'll see your blue cursor show up. If I zoom in a little bit, you can move this blue cursor by whatever the grid resolution is. Now up on my toolbar, I'm at 1/8, so I can move my blue cursor in 1/8 increments. I come up and change that quantized resolution to a 16th note. Now when I click, I get smaller resolutions. I can use my right arrow and my left arrow, move by these quantized resolutions, and you can see they remain independent from the main cursor. If I go back to the beginning of this loop, which I've created, I'm going to change my resolution to an 8th note. If I start playing different notes, notes are written in at the same length and resolution as whatever the grid is. If I come up and change that grid from an 8th to a 16th note, and continue writing in notes by playing them, they're written in as 16th notes, smaller resolutions, and they always completely fill out the space between the grid. And Control Z out of these. One thing that's changed in our later versions of Cubase, we now have an update in terms of how we can change the length of these notes. They don't always have to be the same length as the step input. For example, when I change this back to an 8th note, I now have a field next to it on the right, or you may have to right-click in your toolbar to make sure the option that says length quantize is checked. But in that list, you now get a drop-down, and if it's checked at quantize length, then whatever note you enter, the length will be the same thing. But you can change that. Let's say I come down to a 16th note, so even though my resolution is still at an 8th note, if I play different notes now, even though they continue to move at 8th notes, they're only written in as small 16th notes. Let's make them even smaller. I'll make it a 32nd note and then play some of those. You get these very small little pieces, but still spaced out as an 8th note. This is a great option. It can save you some editing later if you want to draw in little staccato notes as opposed to these long legato kind of notes. Another thing to keep in mind when you're working with step input in general is you can see I have the step input button on, that's why it's orange. If I leave the editor, if I come right back into the key editor, I can see that my step input is still on. It's something you want to pay attention to so you don't keep entering notes unexpectedly. When you're done entering your step notes, come up and turn this button off. A few things you can experiment with, assuming you have some chords on a chord track. Once you're in the key editor, if you go up to the button that says pitch visibility, you can see right now it shows like a piano keyboard over here on the left. But when I turn on the pitch visibility, it hides everything except for some selected notes. And those selected notes are determined by what's in the Scale Assistant tab. I can tell it to use the chord track if I select that. Then I can go to this drop-down list and tell it to use only notes from the chords. And if I check the box that says Snap the Live Input, when I trigger these notes from my MIDI keyboard, they're going to change as they go along with the different chords. It's interesting at this point to experiment with some of the different rhythms. For example, if I start by choosing an 8th note, just play some random notes. That'll produce an effect like this. Or I can remove these notes, change this from an 8th note to a 16th note, play a bunch of random notes at that duration. Sounds something like this. Each one gives you a totally different effect. Let's try some of the triplet sounds. Let's go to a 16th triplet and then input some notes like that. And that sounds like this. You can come up with some pretty interesting little soundscapes doing things like this. And of course, the step input is great for percussion as well. Say we want to use the sampler with some percussion sounds. I'll open up my media tab. I'm going to type in bongo, preview some of these bongo sounds. Right click, tell it to create a sampler track. It gives me some sounds like this. I'll create a part, turn on my step input, try a 16th resolution. I'll play some notes. I think those bongos need a little bit of reverb. Gives us this. Let's try it with an 8th note. Play a few of those. Gives us something like this. Once we've created a MIDI part like this, we can also open it up in the drum editor. I'm going to duplicate this track. Then we can go to the MIDI menu, tell it to open it in the drum editor, which has its own kind of step input. Switch over to the little drumstick. Change the resolution to 1/32. Then next to these notes, I can add extra fills in various places. And that gives us some sounds like this. A great way to add extra percussion into your song. I think where step input first became an important tool for me, I was making a lot of these orchestral mock-ups, and when it came time to try to capture the very quick ostinato strings, parts where strings are playing like this, very quickly, when I would try to play it, Cubase would have a hard time recording those notes, or my playing wasn't completely accurate. And in playing quick notes like that, I would have to do a lot of editing and go back and change the notes where they landed in the recording. But when I use this step input now, I know I can just play those notes. Cubase is going to record them in right where they need to be. The problem I was having with this option, though, is it wasn't matching the music or the chord tracks that I had put in. And that was what was nice when I realized I could take this option of snap the live input, and then when I played those quick string parts, Cubase automatically matched them to the chords for me, making it super easy to then create those kind of parts. Along with putting in step input notes like this, and you may have to hit the little 3 buttons to see all these options. There's some extra buttons up here where you can choose whether you want to record the velocity or not. Another common problem when you're recording step input is everything just comes in like a robotic at the same velocity. Whereas when you turn that button on, if I switch to where I can see the velocity, now I can see there's all kinds of different velocity values, which allows me to still capture a lot of realism, even though I'm putting in step input. Let me duplicate this track, and then I'll create kind of a higher ostinato. Make sure the step input is on. Go to a different area on my keyboard. And again, I don't really have to worry about what keys I'm playing, because with the snap live input, Cubase is automatically going to match it to the chords. This works with putting in chords as well. Let me move this down to a quarter note. I'll add some cello chords in here when I play them all at the same time. It writes the chord, the blue line moves. Now it's going to change the chord for me without me changing my hand. Let's try a viola. I'll change that resolution to an 8th note. Then ultimately you end up with some pretty dramatic sounds created entirely with a step input. So now you know how to use the step input, begin creating some parts into your next song, use some of these ideas, and see if you can create something that you may have thought you never would have been able to create. Have some fun, and I'll see you next time. All right, it's going to wrap it up for today. As always, if you haven't already, click the link in the description of this video to learn how you can get access to the all-new Digital Audio Manual Preferred. It's the clear, step-by-step solution showing you not only the tips, but all the secret and typically never talked about features that'll take you to a higher level of using your software. If you've been searching for an all-in-one solution to take you from start to finish and learning Cubase and Wavelab and other music software, this is exactly what you've been looking for. So click on the link in the description and come and be part of the clear path to a better learning experience. So today we had a discussion about how to use the step input. We saw what happens when you enter the step input mode, how the different cursors work. We listened to some examples of changing the grid. We learned about what the length quantize option gives us. We tried our step input with percussion and a sampler track. And then we ended up creating some ostinato strings with it. And we will continue to explore all these different features and functions and all our creative options and the tools we have available to us. As always, it's great to have you guys here, and I'll see you on the next video.